Hello again. So here we are once again in the week after Easter, in the week after we've shouted our praise, in that quiet time after we've celebrated the rising again of Jesus from the dead. The time when we're supposed to knuckle down and start doing those things that we've proclaimed and shared about. And yet, particularly this year, now that we're stuck at home and can't do the things that we might normally do on our long weekend, there's a real temptation to fall into what John Bunyan called in his book Pilgrim's Progress, the slough of despond. We become despondent. I don't really need to do that because there's no deadlines. There's nothing that's time critical. I don't have to go anywhere, not meeting anyone. So everything sort of slips a little bit. Well, I have to say I'm a nightmare, actually. I'm a bit of a tidy person. I like things to be in their place. Everything in my life, in my house, has its place. That doesn't mean that I live in a clean and sanitized house with clear surfaces. You can probably see from the mess behind me that's not the case. There's lots of stuff in my house, from pebbles from the beach to paintings that my children have done, to photographs, all sorts of things. But all of these things have a place, and I like these things to be in their place, which is just awful for the other people in my house. There is an unhealthy dose of OCD in me, and that makes life difficult for everyone else. So what I've been spending some of my time doing over the long weekend is tidying up the garden. It's never looked so tidy. It's not a big garden, but it's now tidy. And I've turned my attention to the house, tidy that up, make sure everything is in its place. And that's caused me to reflect, to stop and to think. Well, I can tidy up the environment around me, but there are other things that perhaps need a bit of attention, need a good long hard look at, and they are in me. What is there in me that really needs a bit of attention, needs to be put right, needs to be tidied up, needs to be refocused, if you like? Now, if I were to look in my Bible, there are all sorts of lists that tell me how I should be and how I should behave. One of the most famous ones, comes in Paul's letter to the Galatians, where he calls them the fruits of the Spirit. If the Spirit of God lives in us, then fruits that other people should see are these: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And they're wonderful, and they're laudable, and they are, of course, the things that I should aspire to. And yet, to be perfectly honest, I don't feel particularly joyful. I'm really at peace. Sometimes I don't display the generosity of spirit that I should. And whilst I'm in the slough of despond, these things just feel too far away. They feel unattainable. They feel like things that I have to work to achieve, and surely that's not the point. If the Spirit is in me, then they should naturally be there, and that doesn't help me in my slough of despond. But in the Bible there are also other lists. There's several of them, actually, and one of them occurs just above that list in Paul's letter to the Galatians, and it's the things that we shouldn't be. And I had a look at those. And first of all, I thought, well, that's not me. I don't need to worry about those things. It says the work of the flesh, the work that is not of the Spirit, but comes of the unhealthy things of ourselves, are fornication, impurity, licentiousness, idolatry, sorcery. And I looked at those and I thought, well, I don't need to worry about those. I've not practiced sorcery that I know of, and fornication. Well, no, that's really not me. And then I read on a little bit. Enmities, strife, jealousy, anger, quarrels, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing. And I wondered, much as I'd like to put them aside and say, no, that's not me, I never do that. I know that I have been envious. I haven't been drunk for a long time, but I'm sure that's not far away, particularly in these times when there's nothing else to do. Dissensions, quarrels, factions. Perhaps my attention should be not on tidying up my physical environment, but in thinking about myself, tidying up those things, putting my own life, my own spiritual life, if you like, straight, making a start, making an effort. Anything that I can do to it up has got better than just ignoring it. But the Bible also sounds a warning that if we get rid of all of the things that we should not have, and we tidy up our lives and we leave it swept clean, then those things that are not of God tend to circle around looking for somewhere else to settle. And as they look around, they see this lovely, clean, tidy, swept life, and they come and settle back in us. We become once again the host to all those things that we don't want to do, whilst we are in that slough of despond. And it's likely to be even more difficult the next time to drag ourselves out of that. So what do I need to do? What can I do? What can help me to get rid of those things, to start working? Perhaps take one of those things, envy or jealousy, and start working on that. Have a good long think about it. The Bible has an answer for that as well. It tells us that we are supposed to practice what we tend to call spiritual disciplines. Now, these look different in different traditions, but basically it means opening ourselves up to God and the things of His kingdom, which might mean, if you're a reader, sitting down and reading your Bible. It might mean praying. I don't mean those long shopping lists of prayers. Help this person, do this for that. I mean sitting quietly and becoming aware of God, of just spending time in His presence, perhaps not even being able to articulate prayers at all, but doing that regularly. A little bit of prayer, a little bit of being in His presence, a little bit of reading a Bible or a prayer book or something else which nourishes you. It could be going outside and wondering at the world that God has made. It may be staying in your room. But practicing those spiritual disciplines will help me, will help you as well, to look at those things that are untidy in our lives, are unfocused, are the things that perhaps we should not be doing. And spending this in forced rest or in forced change, making a difference not just to our physical environment, but to our spiritual lives as well. Stay safe.